I also want to underline the importance of that the social economy today are a part of the EU agenda as a whole. And I think that's a nice conclusion in order to welcome the first panel up to the stage. But I will start with Mr. Alain Coheur. He is here from the European Economic and Social Committee. He has a graduate in public health science. Yeah, you choose now. When you were first, you can sit wherever you want. Has a graduate in public health science from the University of Liège and is a board of directors member in CIRIEC, which is a research network on the European, on an international level for social and public economy, the largest research network. And since 2018, you are the Vice President of Social Economy Europe, where you also was the president between 2008 and 2015. And Mr. Coheur is also then a member of the European Economic and Social Committee since 2015 and been the spokesperson for social economy at several occasions. And since 2020, you are the chairman of the Internal Market Producer and Consumer Commission. And I know that there's a lot more to tell about you, but I will stop there because we have a time limit for this conference. And as you understand, Mr. Coheur has a really good experience and can talk especially about everything regarding this conference, but I will come back with some specific questions to you. And I will also like to welcome to the stage Mr. Juan-Antonio Pedreño from the present President for Social Economy Europe. And he's also the Spanish president of the Spanish Employer Association, the Spanish Business Confederation of Social Economy, CEPES, since 2008. And Mr. Pedreño is also president of Social Economy Europe then since 2015, replacing Mr. Coheur. And I will return to you as well. Would also like to welcome Víctor Meseguer Sánchez, who just entering the room, I saw. Yeah. Special Commissioner for the Social Economy, Ministry of Labor and Social Economy in Madrid. But you are also former CEO of Social Economy Europe. You're gathering the family here for Social Economy Europe. Is now Special Commissioner for the Social Economy, Ministry of Labor and Social Economy in Spain for the upcoming presidency. And also I would like to welcome Mrs. Diana Ghinea, who is Head of Strategic Development at Coompanion here in Gothenburg. And Diana is also international responsible for Coompanion, work a lot with international issues, employed here in Coompanion Gothenburg, but also been main coordinator of this conference. And I would also like to welcome Mr. Carl Forsberg, who is chair of the Social Economy Council in the region Västra Götaland and vice president of the Culture Committee of Västra Götaland region and president of the Council for Social Economy of the region. You have also been, I know, a chairman for Writer Forum West for 5 years. So that would be the panel, the first panel. Who will then discuss that? Why is it important to continue supporting the development of the social economy? And we will now give them some minutes each to start their presentation, and hopefully there will be some still some time to have a discussion between you after your initial plea. But I start with you, Mr. Alain Coheur, that out from an economic and social committee perspective, but also I would like, we are in a university and we really want this conference also to embrace the research part of the social economy, and I know you have a long experience of researching. And you heard the speech of Nicola Smith, and the work for promoting the social economy is now on the highest level, basically since 1997 in Europe. When may we say that we actually have succeeded? When did we actually come to the end and, okay, now we are where we want? As I said, if you turn back 20, 25 years of time, we have made tremendous progress and improvement of the social economy in all these different levels, on the European institutional level, on the research level. And why is it important to support the development of the social economy from your different perspective and positions, but mainly then from the Economic and Social Committee and research point of view? Easy question.
I stay here or I go there?
It's up to you.
Go there. So yeah. So thank you, Gordon, for the invitation, and thank you also to organize this important event during the Swedish presidency. I think it's very important to organize this with the different presidency. It's important to have this event here in Gothenburg. Congratulations for this. I would like also to thank my colleague Ariane Rodert, who is a key person in the ESC for the work she has done until now on the social economy. So thank you, Ariane, for all you have done until now and for the future too. So, today more than ever, the social economy can neither neglect or ignore the question of the political program and ideological framework. And this idea is far from new. The history we are writing is the legacy of battles that we have waged for decades with different conceptions of how our society should function and be organized. And because we are in business school, I cannot avoid to quote two very important persons in the economical history, Marx, Engels, and Rosa Luxemburg. In 1866, Marx and Engels observe, we recognize cooperative works as one of the transforming force of present-day society. Its great merit is to show practically that the present system of subordination of labor to capital can be superseded by the association of free and equal producer. But they immediately added, the cooperative system restricted to the minuscule form resulting from the individual efforts of wage slave is powerless to transform capitalist society on its own. To cover social production into a broad and harmonious system of cooperative labor requires change in the general condition of society, which can only be achieved by means of the organization power of society. State power wrested from the hands of capitalists and landowner and transferred into the hands of the producer themselves. A few years later, 1889, Rosa Luxemburg observed, as long as cooperative evolve within the capitalist market framework, where they are in competition with capitalist enterprise, they will have to follow the movement and to adapt to the evolution of capitalism. They will therefore always be caught up in this framework from one side or the other, either by agreeing to adapt to the market economy, leaving power to a bureaucracy that will end up adopting capitalist principle, or by remaining under the control of workers or cooperatives, risking being swallowed up the harsh world of competition. The social economy is on razor edge. While cooperation and mutualization are essential to its development and to the popular support it can mobilize, the social economy can only develop widely by directly addressing the question of power. Since the time of Marx and Luxemburg, the cooperative, mutualist, and associative system has developed to the point of managing large part of society without ever being capable on its own of fundamentally challenging the capitalism system. Yet capitalism has developed enormously since Marx analysis. Inequality has never been so great. The family business of Marx's day have become multinational, and the whole world is now an investment ground of capital. Any project to change society must therefore raise the question of politics to go behind the limits set by the capitalist framework, because the strength of the system which we find ourselves is that it blocks any idea that society could function differently. The whole of capitalism and neoliberal dogma is fraught with consequences. It has led to austerity policies, to the privatization of services that used to be public without any real collective added value, to a consumerist lifestyle that promotes individualism, has led to the emergence of disruptive private digital platforms as new form of unbridled capitalism in the pursuit of an activity or job. 30 years of disruption and competition between states, companies, and individuals have come up again the major challenge of our time, the loss of biodiversity, climate change, and demographic change. Focusing on the satisfaction of essential needs, it's the opposite of the constant renewal of material needs at the heart of the capitalist dynamic. But we have a big problem. The construction of Europe is based on the principle of free and undistorted competition, which makes it difficult to implement solidarity between member countries. The directive and regulation are designed to encourage market adjustment. Enterprise of the social economy operates in a legal and political environment dominated by the principle of competition, except in exceptional circumstances. COVID has made people aware that a certain solidarity must be put in place at European level and not just at level of a country where the state exercises its solidarity through social protection, public spending, and taxation. This raises the question of whether our organizations are in a capacity to promote a different mode of production based on cooperation and social utility rather than on maximizing profit and of putting people before capitals, which means that the profitability of a company can no longer be based on adjustment to jobs, pay, or working hours. In short, we must oppose the European dogma of competition. No more. The interests and the limits of the social economy, therefore, depend on its articulation between two logics, the market competition and the state power. The way for us is narrow, and there is three solutions open to us. Social economy continue to act as a shock absorber for problems that neither the state nor the market are capable of solving, and they do not wish to overcome. It acts as a crutch for the current regime, which does not have to reform itself or question its legitimacy. It's not by compensating for the structural weakness of the capitalist regime that we are going to trigger a process capable of imposing our value and synergy and dethroning the logic of profit. Second, social economy is on such a rule is becoming an integral part of the socio-economic system, while maintaining a capitalism dear to the accumulation of capital and a state that is in the arena for political struggle to borrow. The social economy ensures the social cohesion. And the third solution, assume that the principle of solidarity and cooperation is explicitly recognized in the European text, is imposed in the economy and becomes an alternative regime to the dominant model where the public authorities, including the European institution, would play a predominant role in creating a virtuous circle for social economy. Local, regional, national, and European public authorities should create the condition for the widespread use of production and consumer, cooperative, mutual insurance, responsible saving banks, the deployment of collective service managed by association, etc., thereby encouraging the logic of the common good and solidarity. The main aim is to build organization based on relationships of egalitarian reciprocity and solidarity in production, consumption, investment, credit insurance, and other activities. If the social economy is still marginal, it's because most politicians see the economy only in terms of capitalism and prefer to support the latter. Our determination to bring the social economy out of the margin will be a struggle for our existence. Let's not delude ourselves. The capitalist system is going to put the social economy under enormous pressure. We are going to have to provide even more justification, more obligation, more standardization, more impact measurement. The social economy can only become a dominant system if we seriously tackle the capitalist system and prevent it doing any harm. Development measures will certainly be proposed and negotiated with policy decision makers, but we have to rebuild a balance of power. We must not allow our operating framework and our evaluation framework to be imposed to us. We must not allow ourselves to be seduced into ensuring on development by private funding set up by major companies. And despite our ambition to offer an alternative for some decades to come, we will remain part of the capitalist economy, subject to the rule of competition, its market logic, and its ideological domination. But enterprise and organization of the social economy can recognize themselves and unique through their statute, their practice, and their objective. Being a social movement, a political force, requires to form a unified whole beyond our cooperative differences in order to carry high our common vision of general interest. As women and men of the social economy, we are working for the emergence of this part of these different economic voices, which promote a more transparent, more sustainable, and in short, more responsible model. We are defending the imperative for different economic models that advocate the widest possible dissemination of all the principles. The social economy plays its part in the production, distribution, and consumption of goods and services necessary to everyday life, but it reconciles them with the collective interests, territorial and cohesion, and social innovation. Through our social economy, we are demonstrating that enterprise can be managed democratically in a spirit of solidarity and by following the general interest without speculative shareholding. We are developing economic practices that are based on solidarity, inclusiveness, and citizenship, which are the key to a fairer world in order to put human being and ecosystem back in its center. If the social economy agenda is broadening, ILO, OCDE, United Nations, and the European Council, 4 common recommendations are adopted. This will also require us to review the role of solidarity and cooperation on an international scale in order to initiate an alternative form of globalization that demands the sustainable development of our society. To conclude, I would like to call to all the members of this assembly here present to bear witness. We cannot expect a change in the economic regime as long as the GDP of the social economy represents at best 10% in certain countries. We need to set ourselves more ambitious targets which will mobilize our energies more effectively and have them included in the future program of the new European Commission and in the UN framework that is currently being written. By 2050, 50% of the national economy should come from the social economy. Otherwise, we will fail and our society will fail. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Alain. I really hope now that I will be able to have more questions in the end, because I have several more questions after your speech. But I need to give the floor to the rest of you on beforehand. So Mr. Juan-Antonio Pedreño, as the president of the Social Economy Europe, you heard what Nicolas Schmidt said about 63 actions, mainstreaming into EU policy areas, and we listened to Mr. Coheur now regarding the importance of an ambitious both policy agenda from the public sector, but also from the social economy itself to actually be more proactive and not only answering up to market failure. So out from stakeholder perspective and the voice of business and industries in Spain nonetheless, why is it still necessary to have a firm policy and ambitions for the sector to grow, and what is especially needed in order to have an even better European agenda for the development of the social economy? Welcome.
Buenos días. En primer lugar, agradecer la invitación y sobre todo el esfuerzo también a los organizadores de esta conferencia europea, por hacer posible esta conferencia. Yo creo, contestando a la primera parte de la pregunta, yo creo que lo que queremos básicamente es que la economía social no sea una excepción en el mundo de la economía, que se desarrollen políticas en favor de todo el conjunto, de todas las empresas, sin excepción ninguna, y no haya distinción entre unas empresas y otras empresas a la hora de elaborar políticas para su desarrollo. Yo creo que la economía social, como se ha dicho muchas veces, es la economía de las personas, y en este sentido tiene mucho, lo comentaba Alain, lo ha comentado el comisario, tiene mucho que ofrecer para el futuro de Europa. La situación socioeconómica actual, con lo que estamos planteando de la inflación, el cambio climático, el incremento de las desigualdades y la desafección por nuestra democracia, muestra cómo la economía social puede ser una solución al modelo económico y un motor de desarrollo local. Por eso, la economía social propone participación, compromiso y cooperación, y por eso tiene que ser valorada en este sentido, y por eso hay que potenciarla. Social Economy Europe representa a las organizaciones y a las empresas de la economía social en Europa. En este momento, 3 millones de empresas en el entorno de la economía social, 14 millones de personas, el 8% del PIB europeo. Nuestro objetivo, el primer objetivo que nos hemos marcado con el plan de acción es crecer hasta llegar a los 22 millones de personas, crecer para cambiar de escala, crecer para influir más en las políticas públicas que afecten a nuestras empresas y, como decía antes, que no sean una excepción en la elaboración de las políticas públicas. Se ha señalado también por parte del comisario el momento excepcional, único que está viviendo en este momento la economía social, no solo en Europa, sino en todo el mundo. Las diferentes instituciones, las instituciones más importantes, OIT, Foro de Davos, OCDE, elaborando marcos jurídicos, están elaborando políticas, hablando de economía social, algo que hace unos años era impensable que esto ocurriera. Incluso con el hito histórico de la resolución de Naciones Unidas aprobada hace escasamente un mes o mes y medio. Creo que estamos, como digo, viviendo un momento único donde se está reconociendo el potencial de la economía social para impulsar el desarrollo sostenible, para acelerar transiciones justas y para construir esas sociedades cohesionadas donde intentemos que nadie se quede atrás. Y en este sentido, también la Comisión Europea y el Parlamento Europeo están evidentemente colaborando. La Comisión Europea ha aprobado un plan de acción, lo señalaba el comisario hace un momento, un plan de acción europeo que sitúa a la economía social en el centro de la agenda comunitaria. Esto tenemos que tener presente que no ha ocurrido nunca, que la economía social esté en el centro de las políticas que se van a trabajar en los próximos años. Y esto tenemos que aprovecharlo para que todos los países, con la recomendación, y ahora hablaré de ella, todos los países elaboren políticas públicas para crear, como también decía el propio comisario, ese ecosistema de economía social que queremos para toda Europa. El plan de acción que intenta movilizar el lema de la conferencia de Roma hace 8 años fue liberar el potencial de la economía social para Europa. Pues queremos liberar, queremos movilizar el potencial de la economía social, y para eso el plan de acción ha elaborado 66 propuestas, y lo que hace básicamente es una hoja de ruta para trabajar en la política específica para la economía social para los próximos 10 años. Queremos, en definitiva, crear ese ecosistema, y también se ha reconocido a la economía social como uno de los 14 ecosistemas industriales para el desarrollo futuro de Europa. Y esto, repito, hay que tenerlo en cuenta y tenemos que valorarlo especialmente y, sobre todo, aprovecharlo. Y en este sentido, destacar que todos estos frutos, todo esto que está ocurriendo, necesariamente es resultado del esfuerzo conjunto. Estamos trabajando conjuntamente, colaborando conjuntamente todas las organizaciones de la economía social de Europa. Y estamos dándonos cuenta que cuando se trabaja conjuntamente uno al lado del otro, los esfuerzos, los frutos, son muy superiores que cuando trabajamos aisladamente en este sentido. Y eso es lo que ha hecho posible este impulso para la economía social, que toda la economía social de Europa está unida, trabajando en una dirección única en este sentido. Y básicamente lo que está ocurriendo es que estamos elaborando una hoja de ruta ambiciosa, diría yo. Estamos contribuyendo a crear una hoja de ruta ambiciosa para ese fomento de la economía social. Pero quizá eso no sea suficiente. Quizá lo que sea necesario sea que se articulen políticas con el resto de las políticas de la Unión Europea, que no esté aislada a la economía social. Hablamos de contratación pública, hablamos de trabajar con el intergrupo de economía social, hablamos en definitiva de apostar por finanzas comunitarias que apoyen esa agenda, dinero que apoye también esa agenda pública. El día 13 de junio, dentro de 5 días, se va a aprobar la recomendación, del Consejo, y esa recomendación del Consejo creo que va a ser fundamental para el desarrollo futuro de la economía social. Esa recomendación del Consejo, que se aprobará el 13 de junio, que se debatirá el 15 de junio en el grupo de expertos de la Comisión Europea, básicamente lo que plantea es apoyar políticas sólidas para el fomento de la economía social. Y este es un reto. El reto es que estas políticas se desarrollen en todos los países. Hablamos de que en los próximos meses tenemos la obligación, una vez que conozcamos la recomendación, de trabajar, de unir, de ir a hablar con los diferentes países para que se trasladen estas políticas a esos países en este sentido. Hablamos de elaborar marcos jurídicos sólidos que permitan el desarrollo y el crecimiento de la economía social. Hablamos de mecanismos de financiación adaptados a las especificidades de la economía social. Hablamos de un diálogo estructurado de todas las partes interesadas de la economía social con las autoridades públicas. Hablamos de participar en el diálogo social como un empleador más en este sentido, en Europa y en cada uno de los países. Hablamos de la necesidad de tener mejores datos de la economía social, tanto a nivel estatal como a nivel europeo. Hablamos de la necesidad de apoyar las políticas de empleo, las ayudas estatales, las ayudas a la financiación, un acceso reservado al mercado público. Y se ha señalado también aquí, de forma importante por la directora del Gabinete de Innovación, Desarrollo Sostenible, la necesidad de la educación. Hay una política que es la Academia de Emprendimiento Juvenil, que se presentó en marzo en Bruselas y que intenta promover cómo se puede acercar el mundo, los jóvenes en este caso, cómo podemos acercar los jóvenes a la economía social. Este es el reto fundamental, acercar los jóvenes a la economía social. Bueno, pues la Academia de Emprendimiento Juvenil, lo que Social Economy quiere proponer es que no se quede en Bruselas, que exista una academia de emprendimiento juvenil en cada uno de los países, en cada uno de los Estados miembros, y que en cada uno de los Estados miembros haya un descenso de esa academia a cada una de las regiones, porque tenemos que recordar que la economía social está en los territorios, abajo en los territorios. Seguramente si se queda exclusivamente en el ámbito de la Unión Europea, arriba en Bruselas, no llegaremos a conseguir los objetivos que queremos. Este es un reto a 10 años. Un reto a 10 años. Si hacemos esto en 10 años, posiblemente las cifras que estamos planteando de la economía social se hayan quedado cortas. Si existe una academia de emprendimiento juvenil en cada uno de los países, si existe una academia de emprendimiento juvenil en las regiones, seguramente la educación contribuirá a que la difusión y el fomento y el conocimiento de la economía social sea cada día más amplio. Tenemos la oportunidad de producir nuestra propia energía en el ámbito de la economía social, tenemos la posibilidad de producir elementos sostenibles, de trabajar con proximidad, de construir viviendas asequibles en las ciudades, de fortalecer la tecnología, de fortalecer la digitalización, en definitiva de proponer desde la economía social una economía con más participación, con más compromiso y con más cooperación. Y para promover esta economía necesitamos marcos jurídicos adecuados, necesitamos el compromiso de los países, necesitamos que en los diferentes países existan políticas públicas. Ha señalado el presentador que hiciera alguna referencia, en este caso, a España. En España tenemos una estrategia de país. Creo que hay que señalar que sería importante para el desarrollo de la economía social en general destacar que hay 4 niveles. Hay un nivel europeo, hay un nivel estatal, hay un nivel regional y hay un nivel local. Si los 4 niveles cuentan con políticas, con estrategias de desarrollo y de fomento de la economía social, evidentemente crecerá mucho más el conocimiento, la difusión, el fomento y la creación de empresas de economía social. Hasta hace muy poco teníamos apenas políticas estatales. En España hay una estrategia española de economía social. Teníamos estrategias regionales, incluso estrategias locales, pero no había un paraguas europeo, una estrategia europea sobre economía social. Ahora tenemos el cuarto paraguas, el paraguas europeo de la economía social. Ahora tenemos los 4 paraguas: Europa, el Estado miembro, la región y los locales. Esto tenemos que conseguirlo en cada uno de los países de la Unión Europea si queremos realmente potenciar, difundir, crecer para cambiar de escala, crecer, como decía antes, para influir en las políticas públicas y crecer para que la economía social no sea una excepción, sino que sea una normalización en el resto de la economía. Termino con el último reto, diría yo. Tenemos un último reto todavía, que es el de movilizar a las organizaciones y a las federaciones de la economía social. A nosotros. Tenemos que movilizarnos más todavía. Tenemos que movernos más en este sentido en todos los países para presionar para que exista un compromiso fuerte de la economía social hacia los Estados. Tengo que destacarlo, aunque luego posiblemente Víctor haga referencia a esto. En España, 1.700 millones de los fondos de recuperación y resiliencia se han destinado al fomento y al desarrollo de la economía social. Esto es consecuencia de la presión y digo este tema en base a la última adenda que el Gobierno de España aprobó ayer mismo en este sentido. Por tanto, este impulso tenemos que conseguir que sirva para transformar la economía en nuestro país en este sentido. Bueno, pues el reto, como digo, es movilizar las organizaciones para conseguirlo. Y es posible que lo consigamos si tenemos estados comprometidos, organizaciones comprometidas para crear ese ecosistema vivo y creciente de la economía social. Desde luego, desde Social Economy vamos a estar ahí para seguir empujando y para seguir creando ese ecosistema futuro de la economía social. Muchas gracias.
Thank you, Mr. Pedreño. I think it's really interesting what you talked about regarding that the sector itself needs to mobilize and gathering, and in order to actually we do have the possibility to do that, but in order to be able to do that, we need more consistent policies or more equal policies regarding education, procurement, public investment policies, and so on and so forth. And I think it's very interesting what you say about the EU level. That was the last, because we do have policies in Spain, not necessarily in Sweden yet, but and not necessarily in all EU countries, which you also mentioned was an important part actually to understand how the sector needs, and this conference is actually one of the main objectives of this conference is to highlight the differences, and that we need an adaptable, conducive ecosystem for the social economy. So thank you very much, and I will turn to Víctor. The Swedish presidency is coming to an end. We don't have even a month left. And the social economy has been quite invisible, I would say, on the Swedish presidency's agenda, although that we have within the Troika, together with Czech Republic and Spain, there is actually stated that the social economy should be highlighted during the presidencies. We really had difficulties to address the Swedish government for this conference, and yesterday we got the yes for using the logotype for the presidency, but we said that we don't want it anymore. But we tried for a year to get it. But I assume that social economy is not on top of the Swedish government agenda, but Mr. Meseguer Sánchez, in less than a month, Spain will take over the presidency of the EU. And may you give us a small glance on how you will promote and support the social economy, as well as some reflections of what you heard from the previous speakers, and if you will handle these issues in one way or another during the Spanish presidency.
Thank you very much, Gordon, and good morning, everybody. Very happy to be in Gothenburg once again. We were here together with the European Commission in 2000. 16 it was, the European Pillar of Social Rights, 15? 17, sorry, okay. Years pass, but okay. We were here with Alain, remember that in this very same room in an event organized by DG Grow actually, that was a parallel event to the adoption of the Pillar of Social Rights. Okay, so I mean, let's go to the thing, what Spain will do on social economy in the next 6 months and what we are already doing and what can we make collectively to make the social economy grow and scale up, which I believe it's the common objective to a certain extent. Well, first of all, you colleagues invited the second vice president of the Spanish government. So my boss, Yolanda Diaz, she was not able to be here, but she has sent a video message that will be shared after the coffee break. So first of all, sorry on her behalf, and very happy to represent our ministry. Social economy, it is important on the Spanish presidency agenda. It is one of the 3 priorities of our ministry, of the Ministry of Labor and Social Economy. So one of the 3 main priorities for the EPSCO Council, together with social dialogue and democracy at work. By the way, I like to say that the other 2 priorities rhyme with social economy. Social dialogue rhymes with social economy. Democracy at work rhymes a lot with social economy. So social economy, beyond being one of the 3 main priorities for the next 6 months of our ministry, for the EPSCO Council, not only that, but it's also a transversal issue that it's also in the other 2 priorities of the ministry and in many other priorities of the presidency. Then I also wanted to address something that was said. Why social economy is very much needed. Yesterday I was catching the plane from Madrid and I was listening to the French radio. I don't know if you know it, but the president of the French Republic said some days ago that there is a moment of de-civilization. So we are losing civilization as a consequence of social unrest, right? And all the analysts from different political spectrums, so this is also something I want to say, the social economy is so big, 2.8 million businesses and 30.6 million employees that you find all colors and flavors, and this is very important. But commentators were saying, we have an issue with the economy. The social contract is being broken to a certain extent. People is atomized. Many of us are working from home, which offers a lot of good things, comfort, quality of life, and a lot of good things, but we don't meet anymore. We have very different perspectives of what is happening out there, and to a certain extent we have lost a common narrative that we have had, that our societies have had in the past. We have had always differences, and this is fantastic. This is the basis of democracy, but we also have had a common narrative, a common project. And to a certain extent, in many places we are losing that, and that puts a risk on our democratic system and also on our economies. And social economy is kind of an answer to that, one of the answers to that. So that's the first thing that we need to know. And I think that there is a political consensus on that, and this is good. There is a lot more to do, a lot more to conquer, but more and more we are having a political consensus on having an economy that works for people, as it is among the priorities of the current European Commission, an economy that works for people and the planet. That's quite huge. And social economy, by definition, is the economy of people that works for the collective interest or for the general interest. That's a bit the philosophical part, so we need to make it happen. Social economy needs to be part of the answer. Citizens need to engage in the economy. There are so many examples, and President Pedreño mentioned some of them. The issues with the green transition, the issues with the speed of the green transition. Of course, citizens, if they are not part of it, if they don't feel to be part of it, if it is a question of big companies, of oligopoles and so on and so forth, they don't buy it. We need to be part of the thing. And social economy offers the opportunity to be part of the thing. Renewable energy communities is citizens together producing their green energy. Work integration social enterprises active on reuse and repair are enterprises putting in the labor market and in the system people that were traditionally excluded to reuse, to repair, to recycle. Also giving a second life to products. It's also citizens going to the local cafe in which you can repair your bike, right? It's in France, which is an example that I love, the bike movement, associations building the infrastructure. Because, okay, we need to take the bike, but in many European cities, you cannot park the bike in the street. There is insecurity about it, so let's build the infrastructure. Let's change the legislation so that every new building you can have a parking lot for bikes and so on and so forth. So that's the social economy, citizens being part of the thing, citizens being part of the economy. And that's precisely, I think, that what our economy needs from a consensual perspective. We need it because if not, we are breaking the system. If we are breaking the system, we are having trouble, big trouble. Our democracy is in trouble, our freedom is in trouble, and so on and so forth. Not cool. Okay, going back to the Spanish presidency and what we do. We are very much inspired, I will say, even if indeed Spain has a long tradition of social economy public policies. It was the first European member state to have a social economy law in 2011 that was approved by consensus of all the political parties. And this is also thanks to have a very strong sector. We were followed by Portugal, and then in 2013, and then by France. We have a tradition, but right now we are very much being inspired by what the European Union is doing to a certain extent. If Europe has 14 industrial ecosystems for the future of Europe, for the resilience, for the recovery, and for an economy that works for people and an economy which is sustainable and adapts and leads the green and digital transition, we have 12 PERTEs in the framework of the Recovery and Resilience Facility. We have 12 investment plans, 12 areas that we consider fundamental for our future, and indeed social economy is one of them, and indeed there is a budget, as President Pedreño was mentioning, of 1,700 million dedicated to that. A budget which is shared by 13 ministries, and this is very cool, because social economy cannot be the affair and the competence of one single ministry. Social economy is about green transition, social economy is about industry, about labor, about economy, so we need to work together on it. And we share this budget between 13 ministries, and we also have instruments to coordinate our policies, to meet, to do common pedagogy. Indeed, the Ministry of Industry is it should be used in the Spanish case to work with cooperatives, but actually not that much. So the fact that we are meeting every 3 months give us the opportunity to do pedagogy, to discover, and also, again, to do pedagogy about this European speech. Why social economy, being intersectorial, being an industrial ecosystem, not a sector, is one of the 14 industrial ecosystems in Europe, one of the 12 PERTEs in Spain. Okay, the blah, blah, blah that I said before, an economy that works for people, but also because we know that it doesn't delocalize. We know that it gathers something that we have in this room, which is human capital. Maybe we don't have everything, right? We can now, thanks to technology, we can produce our own renewable energy, but maybe we don't have all the resources we need. But something we do have in Europe is human capital. We have people. And people together can do business, can transform the reality. People together can also build business that works in a different manner. So that's why social economy is one of our 12 priorities, one of the European 14 industrial ecosystems. Because it generates resilience, because it replies automatically, because that's what citizens do, it replies automatically to the needs of the territories. We need renewable energy. So in the 80s already in Germany, people were creating renewable energy communities and co-ops to produce the renewable energy before everybody else. Before the big companies started producing or thinking about renewable energy, citizens were doing it as a reaction, for instance, to the Chernobyl accident. Before your bank was telling you that we care where your money goes, we want to invest in sustainable stuff. Before your bank was telling you that, in the 90s and in the 80s, in Italy, for instance, people were creating ethical banks and cooperative banks, investing in the real economy, investing only in sustainable and in social impact businesses. So, I mean, that's what citizens do naturally. In Spain, we have this very beautiful story. In the middle of the pandemic, and this is not a Spanish story, this is a European story. We were in the middle of the pandemic, we had an issue because we needed face masks. We all needed face masks. And at the beginning, there was a mismatch between the offer and the demand. What's the first thing that happened? That organized civil society, people in their houses, started producing face masks. maybe the quality was good or not, we don't care, but that's a natural reaction. Human beings caring about what happens and producing face masks, associations, the third sector, and so on and so forth. What happens afterwards? The biggest cooperative group in Spain said, okay, we need to become the only Spanish producer, industrial producer of face masks. They bought a machine in China and they started making 1 million masks per week. Then it might have been a disastrous business because you know that today we don't have any more a problem with offer and demand, and face mask costs 0.006 cents. But I mean, at the time, it was a natural reaction of what social economy always does, reply to the needs of the society. So that's why we are investing that money on social economy, 1,700 million. That's why, indeed, we have adopted a Spanish social economy strategy 2023-2027. That's why, imitating what the European Union is doing, we are creating a single Spanish gateway of social economy. Of course, once we will know the proposal of a council recommendation on social economy from the Commission that we are eager to discover next week, we will lead the negotiations in the council, and we have a team which is ready for that, and a quite important team with people from the ministry and for the Perm Rep to negotiate among our peers and reach an ambitious agreement on that. And that's in general why Spain cares about social economy. I will leave it here, and then if there are questions or a bit of debate, happy to go into it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Víctor. It sounds like you are putting a little bit more effort into the social economy for the presidency of Spain, and we're looking forward to be able to come. I know there will be a conference in San Sebastian in November. And I do have one follow-up question, but I will leave it now because I will ask Diana and Carl. But I think it's important to connect the three of your speeches in order to what you said. Now I reflected that it might be as obvious today that it was 150 years ago how normal it would be to actually run businesses as social economy enterprises. You are talking about energy communities, we are talking about community cooperatives, reframing their own communities, we're talking about work integrated social enterprises, so on and so forth. And this was maybe what Mr. Coheur was referring to when he talked about Marx and Engels, and we can actually refer to Adam Smith and John Stuart Mill or even Proudhon or Kropotkin, or you can pick or choose at that time. All of them were actually in this area that the different to run businesses you have to do it in this way. There are this way, and then something happened. And why are we just 6% today, and the public sector around 30, but the private is still 54? Then why is it so hard to change this way of seeing it if we actually are back to? It's quite normal that you produce your own energy or you do stuff together with other people. But you can think about it because we have two other speakers before you, and you can also reflect about that question, because I think that connects this, that there is something there that we don't know how to actually push. We have to do it ourselves. We have to form the sector, and we need to promote this kind of work. But it should be quite obvious that we should have that transition already done. But first to Diana, you heard all the speakers before, and you can reflect of that. But in your point of view, why is it that important to continue to support the development of social economy? And you can also reflect about this kind of conferences, how important these are actually in order to meet, in order to promote the agenda and also stepping forward.
Thank you, Gordon. I feel like after all the intervention we have heard now, I don't really have much to add as to why it is important to continue developing the social economy, not at least without being redundant, which I don't want. And I will tell you more about why we had this conference, because that will also be part of the answer. You have heard a bit from Gordon. It was a bit difficult for us even to organize this conference to get the national support and the national attention. And for us as a representative of the Swedish social economy, as Coompanion, a resource organization working with social economy for more than 30 years, this is very important. Like, we still have work to do. Somehow, even though we consider that we are actually trying and and doing good work in what we are doing at those two of those levels that Juan-Antonio was mentioning, at local level and then regional level. We are like 25 national offices in Sweden at Coompanion, working a lot with supporting social enterprises and organization within the social economy, but also working with fostering and developing a policy framework and local regulation that are supporting social economy. We are not there yet where we want to be. So for us, yes, it's still important to continue developing this. And we also feel like at this moment, there is something happening. The game is changing. We have heard the social economy, it is at the center of policy thinking, at policy making. We need to see that happening more somewhere else, somewhere outside Brussels. It's very nice to hear all the initiatives and on the discussions that the EU and the organization located at Brussels level and working in Brussels are doing. But how is this going all the way down to us? Well, here we still have some roads to build, just to go to on your comparison, Víctor. This conference for us, it's also a symbol of what social economy is, because social economy, it is the solidarity economy. We have done this conference together, the actors mainly. We had an idea and we thought, okay, we do it and see who is coming along with us. And this is basically how social economy works. Someone has an idea, someone sees a need and an opportunity at society level, and we try to address it the same way we try to address this need now with the conference. It's the actors that actually mobilized and organized this conference. It's Social Economy Europe, it's Coompanion, it's REVS, it's SECOP. We got the support for the region of Västra Götaland, we got the support for the School of Business of Economics and so on. I'm not telling you this, but this is us driving the question, this is us driving the development. And we are visionary in Coompanion. We have this crazy idea that in the future all enterprises will be social enterprises. Yes, so we still have some work to do with that. There is no other way. Also, as Alain Coheur was saying, we need to change the society. We are already changing it. We are not there yet. We need to go beyond like economic growth and go towards societal development. We are not there yet. We have just done the first steps, and it's very important how we let's say, write down these steps and how we record and how we reflect on them. This is what is happening now with the action plan. It has been a year. We have to reflect on it. We have to assess it. We have to see where we are, which steps we have done in this year, and how much we still have to cover. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Diana. And so last but not least, Carl Forsberg, you now heard the struggle from the Swedish sector where we work, but also you may reflect about the need from the different areas. We have the EU level, the national level, and now we are on the regional level, but also somehow on the local level. And as Regional Council for Social Economy, may you please give us some perspective of the role of the social economy in the local political strategies out from what you heard, and where does this issue belong? Because we are talking about energy communities, we're talking about work integrated social enterprises, we're talking about big industries, cooperative industries, we're talking about small economic associations or societies in Sweden. So where do you fit this into the regional policy area? Can you please reflect a little bit about that?
I can try, at least. First of all, it's a great honor to be invited here. I'm very happy about that, and to be on such a distinguished panel. I would like to first address you, maybe, Víctor, because I think it's so interesting what you said. I myself live in the countryside, and social economy never really left there. It takes a great responsibility for, let's say, infrastructure, sports, culture. We are nothing without the associations out there where I live. It's really important. It's about 120 kilometers north from here. But I would like to start by adding some context, and some of it may be redundant for you who are very close to the region, but I guess we have international guests and some guests who are not from the region. So I will start on the baseline with some context. We had an election, 2022. So the region is now ruled by a coalition of red and green parties. And whenever you have an election, you start out by framing a new political organization. And this new organization was implemented on the 1st of January this year. So we're all very new in our roles. For the social economy, this means that the responsibility for the Council for Social Economy was moved from the Committee of Regional Development to the Culture Committee, where I'm Vice President, but I'm also the President or Chairman of the Council for Social Economy. And we did some reflections on that. We also we had an evaluation of the work that was done before, but we started thinking about what does this mean, this move from regional development to culture. And I think one thing that it means is that the typical counterpart of the Regional Development Committee is companies. Their main competence, I would say, is entrepreneurship. And this has also been highlighted by the Council for the Social Economy. Whereas the Culture Committee's natural counterpart is the civil societies, associations and NGOs. So we speak that kind of lingo. We don't typically speak the business lingo. But when we do, because we have big companies that we support as well, the Gothenburg Opera, the Symphony Orchestra, for example, we never speak about profits. So if we speak business in the Culture Committee, we don't speak about profits. So this is also interesting. But the social economy is, of course, much larger than only culture. So this is important for us to take with us as we go forward. Now, speaking of the civil society, there are other organs that we keep for a dialogue with the civil society. We have something called the a regional agreement with the with the civil society. Bear with me if I'm wrong in the terminology here. The field is fairly new to me. I know the terminology in Swedish, but I'm not quite there yet in English. This is handled by a subcommittee called the Subcommittee for Human Rights. And we also have a part of the responsibility for the social economy that stayed with the Committee for Regional Development, and that is our European network, REVS, which is also part of this conference then. So it's complicated, and it's spread out like for you in Spain, I guess. But maybe that's a good thing, maybe. So I'm coming to strategies now, because that was a part of the question that I got. We have two main strategies concerning the work with the civil society, I would say. It would be the strategy for regional development, and it would be the strategy for culture. Now, the strategy for culture is currently under revision, and we are planning to adopt it later in the year, the new one. But the strategy for regional development is still in effect. And when you look at the word civil society in those strategies, by the way, they are equal in importance. So they are on the same level. The strategy for regional development and the culture strategy, they are on the same level. They have equal importance in developing policy for the region. But speaking of civil society, the regional development strategy mentions the civil society 8 times. The old culture strategy mentions civil society 20 times. But the new one that is now out for revision mentions civil society 40 times. So I think I think you can see a kind of trend shift here. Something is happening. You talk about the civil society more and more. It plays a more important role in the region's policies. but none of them mention social economy. So this is interesting. I took an initiative to make that happen, so that the new cultural strategy will also mention social economy, and we'll have a special section on that. I think that's important. Coming now to the Social Economy Action Plan. The region has worked with these kind of thoughts for a long time, actually since the region was founded. So we recognize a lot of the thoughts, and we agree with a lot of the thoughts that are in the Social Economy Action Plan. We are looking forward to guidelines from the Council. We would like them to be sharp, but we realize that this is a new area of cooperation and that it might take time. We are ready for that. I'm looking at where the Social Economy Action Plan and our strategies overlap. And there are several overlaps that are good. For example, it could be procurement, access to funding, and social economy as a driving force for innovation. That is also in our strategies. I would like to conclude with saying that I'm looking forward to working more actively with the Council for Social Economy, and especially to get financing of projects within the social economy. That is actually a main task for me in the very close future. We are also a bit lucky because we have a project already running, and it's a public-social partnership that is already funded by the region, and it's cooperation between the Council for Social Economy and our region to create a collaboration to meet the challenges in transition to a sustainable society. And in such a context, I think it's also very important to remind ourselves and others that the civil society has a very strong role in furthering, strengthening democracy and inclusion. And I think that will be my conclusive words. Thank you.
Thank you, Carl. And as you said, I think this is, from a Swedish point of view, I think this is one of the most important parts of the Social Economy Action Plan, is how we actually need to mainstream the social fund, the regional fund, the European different funding and investments throughout the society, also reaching the social economy. We have had a problem with that in former programs, but now we hope that this clear message from the Social Economy Action Plan, regardless, and also the state aid discussion and stuff like that in Sweden. So it's important also to have regions. We will listen to another one soon. As I thought, we would not manage to have questions in the end because it's fine. But I will still. This is a European conference, and we don't stick to the time agenda anyway. We really have pauses that we have prolonged in order to be able to take a little bit more time. So I really want you to answer that question that I had, all of you, shortly. But as you said, it might be as obvious today that these kind of businesses, this kind of entrepreneurship, this kind where people actually going together. I'm also from the rural side in Sweden. I know how it is to actually do stuff together with other neighbors in order to get things going, normal life. And why not democratize the economic sphere and all those thinkers that started this in the end, mid-1800 and 1800 and in the beginning of 1900, how come it became this way of, as you said, the market logic, the ideological dominance of another way of running it? And still we are 6% regarding to the Social Economy Action Plan. And is it even movable? This is the question.
Can I go quickly?
Yes, all of you can go quickly on this question. I think it's important.
All right. First of all, well, you're making it, so congratulations to the co-organizers. You are planting seeds, and we are all planting seeds, actually. So good work. We need to connect with citizens. Good that you are in the business school. We need to do more of that. Maybe we need to, not criticizing this, also we need to make it better with more impact. So we need to think collectively about that all the time, because you guys are planting the seeds of tomorrow, and nothing is caprice. You know the history of ideologies, it goes, it comes, but basically it's about people with a clear view, a clear will, and that has a lot of power. I also want to react quickly on government and how we are structured and so on and so forth. First of all, because I see one Spanish region in the room. In Spain, what the Spanish state does traditionally, before the Next Generation EU Fund, was little compared to what regions collectively do in terms of budget and investment in the social economy. So that's very important. Together, the states, the regions and cities, it's impressive. And for many years, the main driving force in terms of budget, it was the regions. On departments, we are making crazy things. Our Ministry of Labor is driving an industrial policy. The Department of Culture is driving the social economy policy. That's complicated. But the fact that it's complicated doesn't mean that it's impossible. And it also needs cultural change inside the administration. A Ministry of Labor giving grants to companies, giving a 50% grant to companies to do big investment projects in the green transition, the digital transition, what you're doing. But I mean, that's what we need to do at the end, and that's the new administration. The new administration, I think, and this is the Mazzucato vision, let's say, the entrepreneurial state, the entrepreneurial public administration is the state not giving to the laissez-faire all the power, but promoting certain sectors that we believe are fundamental for our future. And for that, we need to be promoters. So I just wanted to make that reflection. That might be complicated at the beginning. It might be painful. But I mean, we should invest in that. It's also a transformation of the public sector. And that's it from my side.
Pedreño.
Sí, bueno, respondiendo a la pregunta de cómo progresa, es decir, la pregunta es ¿cómo progresa algo? ¿Cómo progresa algo? Hay que dar conocimiento para que eso exista, se tiene que conocer, tiene que haber educación, tiene que haber formación. Si algo no se conoce, no puede progresar. Si no hay marcos jurídicos que avalen esa posibilidad, no se puede progresar. La primera ley de economía social que se ha hecho en el mundo se hizo en 2011. La primera, en 2011. Llevamos solo 12 años de progreso legislativo en marcos estatales, de leyes estatales de economía social. Después ha habido 3 o 4 o 5 leyes, Francia, Portugal, México, pero no hay, en general, leyes de economía social. Por tanto, es difícil que progrese un concepto único si tenemos, primero, dificultad para difundirlo. ¿Se está explicando la economía social en los colegios? No. En mi región tenemos 40.000 alumnos en economía social. Estamos creando aulas de emprendimiento en cada uno de los colegios cooperativos que tenemos, con el objetivo de fomentar, de dar a conocer a los jóvenes, a los niños, cooperativas escolares, la economía social. ¿Se está fomentando la economía social en las universidades? Con limitaciones. Nos falta visibilidad. Y eso es una responsabilidad de todos. Nos falta educación, nos falta formación en economía social. En definitiva, falta conocimiento en la sociedad de la economía social. Y esta vuelve a ser una responsabilidad de las organizaciones, de las administraciones, y tenemos que ir animando a que efectivamente, como ha ocurrido ahora, OCDE elabore marcos jurídicos en los diferentes países para promover la economía social. Tenemos que animar a que la recomendación que se va a aprobar establezca medidas para fomentar el apoyo con propuestas, con financiación, con las mismas medidas que para cualquier otro modelo de empresa, con el acceso a la contratación pública. Pues en definitiva, así es como progresa algo. Cuando la sociedad lo conoce y lo valora, y yo creo que en este caso sí que está valorado los principios y por lo que apuesta la economía social, por una economía de las personas, sí que está valorado, sí que está reconocido, pues lo que hay que hacer efectivamente es darlo a conocer, trabajar mucho más en educación, en formación, en visibilidad, y así, de esa manera, contribuiremos a que la economía social efectivamente progrese del 6%. Hay que recordar que prácticamente de los 27 países de la Unión Europea, 15 o 16 están entre el 0,5 y el 2% de economía social. Por lo tanto, el potencial de crecimiento es tremendo. El potencial de crecimiento de la economía social es tremendo. No tiene que asustar que pensemos que en 10 años pasaremos de 22 millones. Y si nos animamos, pasaremos de 22 millones. Pero esto vuelve a ser una responsabilidad de las organizaciones que tenemos que animar y que empujar a los gobiernos a elaborar esas medidas legislativas, esos marcos jurídicos, esos apoyos a la contratación pública, el acceso, en definitiva, de las empresas de la economía social a todos los recursos exactamente en igualdad que el resto de las empresas.
Thank you. Yeah, I think it's really, really important that you stress the education and learning and knowledge part of this. We actually did a survey in Sweden, and out from, I think it was 78 different business schools curriculum, none mentioned cooperative or economic societies in business schools. I'm sorry, we are in one, but for this is the reality, and we really need to change that in order to change it. And I also think it's very important to stress that yes, it's 6%, but as you said, 16 of these countries has 0.1 to 0.2% of social economy. So there are a potential of growing. And I also think it's extremely important, because this is something we need to work with also in Sweden as a stakeholder, to embrace the initiatives that is actually coming from an international level, the OECD, the ILO, and especially the Social Economy Action Plan from the European Commission. We really need to embrace that, and none is owning the development of this on the ground if we're not actually doing it ourselves. And this might also be a progress. You have to.
I'd like to add something. Maybe, Víctor, you said ideologies come and go, and they do. But there has been a big transformation, at least of the Swedish society. I'm opening up a bit for speculation now, but I was at the lecture a couple of years ago when they compared Switzerland and Sweden, and how many milk processing companies we had, like making cheese. So there were, today, at the time of that lecture, there were 30 companies making cheese in Sweden. And there were 5,000 in Switzerland. And I think that's very interesting, because they kept the kind of pride of the local product and so on, whereas we turned to large-scale manufacturing. And that maybe has something to do with the way you run a state as well, I think. So then we started realizing that crisis was maybe inevitable in Sweden, and you had to prepare for a crisis. So Myndigheten för samhällsberedskap, smaka på den. The Department for Civil Readiness or Preparedness. Yeah. They said you as a household you have to be able to sustain yourself in 3 days. 3 days, and then the government would come for help. And then it turned to 7 days, I think now, and they published brochures now. And this is when you start talking about voluntary resource groups now. And this is a thing coming up. We had a debate in the regional parliament not long ago, where I proposed that we should have as a goal in every of the 49 communes in Västra Götaland to have a voluntary civil resource group, because we will need them, especially in the countryside. And that has to do with flooding or fires or whatever that they can help out with. I think that's a goal that we should have in developing a new crisis emergency plan for the region. And that's a role that we could, take back what we used to have as a local community taking care of each other. So I think that is important moving forward to the new future that we are somehow going to, live through together.
Thank you.
I can take over shortly, because the question is how do we progress and how do we go further, and we hear a lot of important things that you guys are mentioning, and I'm thinking, yes, but there are always two sides of the story. So yes, we do have the public sector and all this support that we need from the public sector and regulation, legal framework, investment, financing, everything. But we have the other side of the story, is the social economy organizations, and it's also on us to progress. What can we do? How can we go further? How can we move on? And one of the answers, I think, is like we should really be really good at organizing ourselves better than we are now. And we should be really good at doing things together, like collaborating, building civil society organizations, social economy organizations that are different in their kind. It could be a social enterprise and an association, whatever cultural sort. We have to work on this. We have to progress on this line as well. We have to meet somewhere. So, yeah.
And Alain?
Just a very few comments. What is mentioned, it's very important to sensibilize and inform the citizens. When you are going to a bank, sometimes this bank is a cooperative. When you are going to an insurance, sometimes this is an insurance from cooperative or mutual. People don't know that we are part, that they are part of a global organization. And sometimes the cooperative and mutual or association should make the link with the social economy, should promote that the same values of association is in Sweden is the same values in an association in Spain. We have to build a bridge between all the European social economy organization and to prove and to demonstrate that our values is better than the capitalism value. This is what the job. Just to finish, in my region, in Belgium, in Walloon, the Walloon region has promoted a communication plan on radio and television to promote the social economy. And it's very important to do that, to inform that you are part of the social economy. Even if you think that you are not, you are probably part of one of our organizations.
Thank you. It's hard to conclude. It's been a really, really good discussion. And I think I can conclude by, yes, we still need to support the development of the social economy. There are a tremendous opportunity to actually grow the sector from this 6% that is mentioned but we need to really get the education, knowledge system, the training system. We need to be a part of that, but also continue to understand the role of are as stakeholders, that we have the role, especially what you said in the end now, to visualize the size of the social economy, but also the inclusive DNA of the social economy, that you actually, as a consumer or a member, are a part of this movement, that this is something that really are an inclusive economy. And to promote the solidarity and social economy might be hard. I think that's something we need to take with us, that this market logic, that ideologic domination is really a hard thing to move. But we need to do that if we want to progress. And therefore, we still need strong policy commitment from the public side, but also that the sector itself take our responsibility to promote ourselves. Thank you very much. A big warm applause to the panel.